how you doing? Welcome to the hashtag AskDamoShow. Things are falling apart already. It is Season 2, Episode 3. We have some more questions, and I am joined by a very special guest today, which is Andy Guitar. For those who don't know, Andy has a massive social presence, especially on YouTube, where you've got, if I am right, over 800,000 subscribers.
As of this week.
As of this week.
It's an exciting thing.
Yeah, so it won't be long before you hit 1 million and you'll get one of those plaques.
I hope so, yeah. If I don't get a plaque, I'm going to be very annoyed.
Well,
I've got 100,000 one, which is still...
Do you?
That was a massive... Yeah.
They do actually send them through?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it's true.
We got Morgan M. James on the wheels of steel, which is effectively manning the camera. We have some questions, which we're going to do. Every week, we basically answer questions that come through via Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. But, first question from me. I get a lot of people on this channel who are in or just finished music college on all instruments, guitar, bass, drums, vocals, songwriting, piano, etc. You have come from a background of being a musician, and now everybody knows you as an educator. So, you know, one of the biggest teachers, music teachers online, so therefore in the world.
Essentially, yeah.
It's quite impressive, isn't it?
In a niche, but yes.
So you're starting off, right? What advice would you give people now who are saying, I want to make some money, I want to be a guitar teacher, I want to make that my kind of profession, or I want to be able to do that to subsidize my income whilst I'm a musician, whilst I'm a gigging musician? Where do I start? What advice have you got?
I think for face-to-face, one-to-one lessons, it hasn't really changed since I first started doing it 10 years ago. And number one, I would say, make a website.
Right.
I still believe that is the number one way to look more professional and get more enquiries over the phone or over email of people who want to sit down with you in your local area. SEO and things will still work for that, and you can use YouTube to advertise what you can do. You can offer first lesson free, but I still believe you should make a website if you're going to be teaching lessons face-to-face.
Fundamentally, you are funneling people to one place, which to start with is going to be that website. One thing I always say when it comes to lessons is social media is fantastic. It's really, really good. And it's social proofing. But the good thing with lessons is if you want something, you go to Google. If you say, I want a plumber, you don't go to YouTube, you go to Google. Unless you want to fix it yourself. If you want a guitar teacher, you go to Google. That's kind of what you want.
That's where anyone will look to get lessons. Often online, but in general, face-to-face. It's going to be Google, and if you don't rank in the local area, people won't find you.
Yeah.
And anything else that you do, getting a bigger Instagram or Facebook or YouTube following, that will only help your website, but that is where I would push traffic to.
And so we've got this website. We might do some advertising, which would be, for the advertising, we'd probably be looking at Google pay-per-click, a bit more expensive than Facebook or Instagram, but you know it's direct. Someone says, guitar lessons, Brighton, they know that if you're advertising via pay-per-click, it's going to come up.
That was the first thing that got me fully booked back in 2011 or something like that.
No change.
Yeah, I think it will still work. I haven't done them in a long time for what I do, but I think I will at some point again for other things. So.
And so we've got our website. Any advice for what you would put on that website?
First of all, who you are and who you should. Everything about your website should be who's your target market. I figured out very quickly that it was beginners that were finding me. Therefore, I made the whole website beginner friendly. In fact, the first title of what my whole guitar lessons was going to be called was ACGT, Andy Crowley Guitar Tuition, with the AC/DC logo. And that lasted for about 3 days because I was so pleased with myself for 3 days. But then I thought, actually, this alienates most of the people that I want to attract. Right. If you don't like rock music or AC/DC, you're not going to click on that guy. And think of it from that point of view. And the more you specialize, especially early on, but really forever, the more you specialize, the better you will do. Everybody starts off, especially if you do Gumtree ads, you know, all styles and ages taught. Well, that's not something that you should advertise necessarily. You should be marketing yourself at beginners, or for example, Bob's Blues Guitar will do better than someone else who just does anything. Right. And for example, back in the day, I can't remember when I read this, but it was on some blog that I follow. There's a reason McDonald's doesn't sell hot dogs.
Right.
And now they do kind of sell a lot of other things, but you think McDonald's, you think hamburgers.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to start off with.
And so we've got a website, we've got all the information on there, and just from a technicalities of getting started, when it comes to all the technicalities of how much you pay, I'm sure people can figure that stuff out. That's pretty simple. But when it comes to actually getting started, would you say you need experience as a teacher, start teaching your friends, or would you just say just jump in? How would you actually get started? That first bunch of lessons that you
I had so much experience just teaching people that I was in bands with.
Right.
Suddenly inviting people to come round my house, and I had my spare room already kitted out as a studio. It was sort of natural, and I just started teaching straight away.
Yeah.
I actually started off on an agency website.
Okay.
That can be a very handy thing if you're not sure whether it's worth putting all your time into making a website and things like that, and to be, an agency website is an option. But as soon as you can, get your own website and just get people through the door and get teaching. Figure out whether it's for you as much as anything.
Yeah. It's great advice. So effectively, for people who want to, and it doesn't matter whether it's guitar, vocals, drums,
Yeah.
it is the same across the board.
Yeah.
You have to have somewhere to teach from where you can make a bit of noise, but in the crux of it, it is as simple as putting yourself out there in a simple way as possible.
100%.
And starting.
Yeah, just make a start and see whether it's for you, because teaching can work very well with a lot of other things. If you're in a band, if you go on tour, you can make a teaching job work, and it can always be there running alongside.
It's also very seasonal. I always found that when I was doing teaching...
It can be, but it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be, but when you're doing teaching, for example, Christmas comes along, everyone gets a guitar. January, February, mentally busy.
And the start of term as well, September, October, you'll have an influx.
Yeah,
but if you do your
June,
website
July,
correct, and if you do... do Google Ads correct, and then you keep people because you're a good teacher.
Of course, yeah.
You'll be fine. It's not a seasonal.
But June, July, and August is always going to be a struggle because people are going on holidays.
It
Not
will.
because they're leaving, just because they're taking.
And
breaks
take advantage of that. Reassess, redo up your website.
But it does work really well as a gigging musician because it's the seasonality of it's always going to be busier January, February, and it's always going to be quieter in the summer. Ironically enough, when it comes to gigging, same thing with Christmas. Leading up to Christmas, you don't get as many people doing guitar lessons the week before Christmas as a gigging musician, or millions. Of
busy time.
So it's quite it's quite yin and yang, which works quite well. So good, right? Morgan M. James, add him on the Instagram. Give us question number technically 2.
So, question number technically 2 is for both of you, and it is from Sterling Theo Jerson.
Strong.
And they ask, when did you start playing?
After you.
So I first held a guitar when I was 6 years old because my older brother has a guitar, and that was shortly after I saw the film Back to the Future with Marty McFly and the big red guitar playing Johnny Be Good. I was like, yes, I want to do that right now. Where I held it, and it was the same reason nobody plays in the early days, because it was hard, it would hurt my fingers, it was too difficult, the guitar was too big for me, so I was put off from learning guitar for about 6 years, at least 5 years. I had a couple of lessons in school as well, using my brother's guitar, and I just couldn't see how playing Polly Wolly Doodle or anything was going to help me play like Marty McFly. And it wasn't until I was around 11 or 12 I made the decision, ask for Christmas, I want my own guitar, this is going to be mine, this is going to be my thing, and then I persevered, and then kind of the stars aligned a little bit, because I did a lot of other music lessons, in that time. I learned piano when I was about 9, had some other lessons at school, but guitar, very few people actually sat down and kind of taught me something. It was more knowledge from piano that I then applied to guitar, a couple of books, and my brother showed me a few things, and figured it out.
Yeah.
What about you?
I was 15, but I was kind of going into my 15th birthday, and my best mate said to me, we should do a band together. And I was just like, yeah. He was like, but you can't be the guitarist. And I was like, oh. And he was like, you be the bass player. And I was like, brilliant, I don't know what that is. So I went home to my mum, I was like, I need to be a bass player, I want a bass for my birthday. And that's kind of how it started. And I think what's amazing is, everyone has an instrument that's around the house from their family or friends, or there's lots of instruments that you.
I think those nylon string guitars were given out with cornflakes in the 70s or something.
Absolutely, I tried that when I was 7. I was saying, I was like, no, don't like this.
It's tricky, yeah.
And the good thing with being, for being a bass player is you can literally buy a bass having had no music experience on a Monday, and you can join a band by Friday. I mean, because you're sitting there learning U2 tracks, or
it really can be dun 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 dun.
Yeah, or some indie, or some rock, or some metal tracks. I mean,
AC/DC bass player.
AC/DC, exactly.
Let's go. Dun, dun.
And it's really inspirational to be able to just go, I'm needed. I'm in a band already, and
It's true, and I think a lot of guitarists put that off because it is a big responsibility. And I think with bass players, it's a lot of people become bass players to join a band.
And the necessity.
If that was the case with the Arctic Monkeys, I think they literally learnt all their instruments because they were like, let's do a band. Okay, who's going to do what?
Right.
I'll do drums. And then it just, again, the stars aligned a little later, but that's a great example.
Yeah, and so that's a start. And I think what I loved about this question is it is so open-ended, because not everyone jumps into an instrument and is obsessed by it or falls in love with it, but the skills that you're using on guitar fall into so many different things throughout life. The creativity, the routine.
It teaches all the right things, but all we can see sometimes on YouTube or on TV is the overnight success.
Absolutely, yeah.
You don't see the struggle of not being able to play for perhaps 10 years,
yeah.
which isn't uncommon. It's not uncommon, and it's absolutely fine, because on your 10th year, you can start a band.
And when I started, and for a few years of me playing, I became a go-to bass player where I lived in Swansea. And you're looking around at the people in the area thinking, I'm pretty damn good. Of course, now we have a very different time where you can literally go on Instagram, just put in the hashtag bass player or guitar, and these world-class players pop up, and it's pretty terrifying to see these people. But the flip side of that is channels like yours and loads of great sort of places and stuff that you can learn, which I never had when I was a kid. I don't know.
Of course. No, I really...
Local guitar teacher would have been there, but that would have been about it.
I can't imagine how it must have changed, if I'd have had YouTube growing up to learn from it. It must have... As I say, I don't actually know how I got through a lot of the struggles that I had learning guitar, because I didn't have a teacher all the way through it. But yeah, it doesn't matter where you start, it just matters what you do with it. Really.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
Really, right. Question 3. How likely is it a music student will get a job straight after music college? And that is from Stufug3 Tuck.
Good name, strong name. Okay, so we need to be realistic. Having seen this many times and the frustrations of people going through music college, where did you study music?
Huddersfield, actually.
Huddersfield. So having seen this, you would have seen this as well. The amount of people who join your music year, let alone every music college in the entire country, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of musicians in this country, let alone all around the world, are joining a music course, and whilst they join, another bunch of people drop off. There just aren't a lot of jobs, and it is supply and demand. We've got 30 bands that we manage in this building. Out of those 30, it's not like there's room for 3,000.
No.
If we put another 50 in place, it's not like they're all just going to keep getting work and you just keep expanding. There is a kind of finite amount of work to a certain degree, and then it just becomes standards getting higher and higher all of the time. So I actually, weirdly enough, I don't know about you, but I find that massively inspirational, because the fact that it's a fight, it's competitive, that I can look around and I can say, right, we're not all going to get jobs, so therefore I need to take control of my situation, and what I can do to make myself more employable is important, because every time I do a talk, I've got a talk tomorrow in London at a college, and when I'll be talking to first years, second years and third years, and I'm like, when I talk to the third years, I'm like, it's gone quick, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And they're like,
I remember
so
the days.
fast.
Yeah, the final year flew by.
Yeah, and then I talk to the first years, and then just started. They're just like, no, we've got all the time in the world. And if you don't start whilst you're at college, it's very difficult to start after college, because life catches up.
So I did, one of the reasons I chose my degree was it was a sandwich course. So the third year was a gap year, but a placement year in industry and paid work as well.
Right.
And it was sort of a hybrid between a music and a tech degree that I did.
What was your placement?
The Lead Mill in Sheffield. I was there for a year.
I love that place.
It's a fantastic venue, and I got work after I'd finished studying as well. And that was then what enabled me to do more teaching, rather than having to get a job to, a day job to pay the bills or anything, doing shifts at the lead mill and then some teaching part-time, then got a commercial band, as you call it, after that. And that was when I actually saw it as, this multiple streams idea, rather than I'm going to get a job, which is a very self-employed kind of mentality, and it's something that I was very comfortable with. Not everyone is, but I really took to that. And then it was a case of seeing which one of these is going to take off, which horse should I back more, and I ended up backing the commercial band and then teaching, and then YouTube sort of built from me taking the teaching more and more seriously.
And one thing I find is there's so many people out there who are not utilising the great things that there are today. Even the people that are there, the amount of... I'm surprised that the amount of questions I get on a daily basis is a lot, but in comparison to the amount of people out there who are watching the stuff that I do, I'm just surprised that more questions don't come through. More people going, how do I do that bit to get to this level? And I think people take it on themselves, and now is the time to have a mentor, to have people to be able to bounce off.
Well, this is it. It's kind of modern education, because I think historically education's been quite passive, and we listen to lecturers and we're not asking questions, or we're not finding our own path. Whereas now, especially in the creative industries, it's all about what are you going to do with this information. You have to apply it straight away. That would be my advice.
Absolutely. So
start as early as possible. Start working in the industry or building something part-time while you're studying.
So what we're actually saying here is the chances of someone just coming straight out of music college and jumping straight into a job, terribly low.
Yes.
But the chances of someone actually saying, I'm going to make something happen over a period of time, which when you do a music course might be up to 3 years, so that when you finish, you have the momentum to be able to do something
100%.
much, much higher.
100%.
So that's the way to take control of what it is that you're doing.
Definitely. No, I totally agree.
Sweet.
Right, final question is, what advice would you give to someone who feels like giving up on music?
Giving up on... Well, let me tell you a story, because I remember... I tell a story sometimes, but I remember the day that I left BIM.
Mm-hmm.
So I had been at BIM. BIM wasn't a business to me. BIM was... It was me. It was my
heart and soul.
Yeah. The people there weren't just my friends, they were just my whole family. Everything about BIM was just me. I didn't see it as something I owned. I saw it as something that I was.
Yeah.
And every single day, and then one day it came to an end. And I remember driving home, which was about half an hour, and I remember getting home and getting in the house and just thinking, I don't know what to do. What am I going to do for the rest of my life? I don't know. And I was just thinking, I'm the most unemployable twat in the world, because I build businesses. You can't get a job building businesses. And I was like, now I don't have one, and I'm kind of an educator. In my head, I was like, your confidence can drain very quickly, and all of the stuff that was going through my brain of what to do. And the thing that I turned to instantly was my P-bass. My bass guitar I was just like, that's what I'm turning to, because it wasn't just financially, it was emotional support. It was, tomorrow I'm not going to go to that place where my friends are. I'm not going to be able to talk to my friends. I'm not going to be able to see my friends. I'm not going to have the interaction with the students. I'm not going to be able to do the things. Didn't care about the bank balance at the time, although that is a part of it. But all I was thinking of is, emotionally right now, what is it that I can do? And the first thing and the only thing I could think of is, I need to play music.
The bass was always there for you, and then the act of playing the bass and then being able to join, form a band, which I believe you did.
Absolutely. And
just playing.
I think so many people have this pressure of, I have to get to this huge...
It has to be growing,
yeah,
it has to be doing something, otherwise...
And it's only when something like that happens, which happened to me, that you realise how important music is to me, and how important having something like that which you can fall back on. So that instantly I phoned up my friends and I was like, I want to do a band. Mm-hmm. And they were like, great. And we were like, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to have this longevity, but I just need to have music. I need to go to a rehearsal room. I need to put earplugs in. I need to just beat the shit out of my bass I need to have guitar, and I need to have some drums, and I need to just make noise, and then I'll figure the rest of the stuff later. And I think if you're thinking of it as, I want to fill Wembley Stadium, fine, that's an achievement, nothing wrong with that, but I don't think there's a need to give up music. There might be a need to say, look, I want to change my end goal, or I want to change what I'm working towards. But I think it's very difficult to give up music, because when the shit hits the fan, as a musician and as a creative, the one thing you always naturally want to do is create.
I agree, but what I would say, just with the people that are watching this video in mind, who I think your audience are, one thing that's always worked for me is I'm a multi-instrumentalist, and I do have the technology side of things that I'm comfortable with as well, producing. So all through my teenage years and all through my 20s, I was always doing something, even if I lost the vibe on one aspect of it. So in many ways, I'm known on YouTube now as the 3-chord easy pop song guy, and also kind of, teaching AC/DC songs and one thing and another. That is a very small part of what I'm into musically, right. And that is what I've decided will work very well for what I do, and also I really enjoy that. There's no doubt. But there's a lot of other things that I can constantly turn to. For example, like film music and production and 50s rock and roll that I can always do. And if I'm ever working on a new course or ended up just answering emails all day, the guitar's always there, and straight away there's always something that I can play to sort of shake me out of that. There's two things where it's like, are you wanting to quit music because you don't want to play anymore, or you've lost the vibe because your band's not doing as well as you wanted to do? They're very different things, and you always need to have something to turn to when the chips are down. Know what works for you, know what's going to pick you up. And music is one of the greatest things to do that, because it can change your physicality. Music can make you feel better. Yeah. But if you're just playing like screamo music, maybe that you can easily see how you can get too much of that in one day. So it's okay to be into other things and learn other styles.
And I find as well that a lot of the time music is fine. The people is the frustrating bit.
Of course,
people, being around people, being in bands. That time when you're on tour, and you're looking across, you've been with the same people year in, year out, and it's like day 7, and you look across and you just think, if you breathe like that one more time, I'm going to stab you in the face.
And the other side of the coin, if you're a singer-songwriter, you could tour the world on your own. Yeah. That's just it's an amazing thing to do, but also it's the loneliest thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
So both are sacrifices, and I think being able to network with other musicians and talk to them about this stuff in a similar position to you, in a different position to you, doesn't matter, which is why this channel and this resource is amazing. Even just with people in the comments, I want people to be commenting, I feel like that a bit too. You can find people then and talk to them.
I don't know about you, but I think we've all felt like that at times. I mean, I remember standing on stage. I have a nemesis, which is walking on sunshine, because I grew up playing social clubs, just doing 4 gigs a week.
I was one I never played.
Was it? One of those. I grew up, so I paid my way through college, and I remember.
It's a tune, by the way.
Yeah, well. But I mean, about 8 years into it, and I was at ACM at the time. I don't think we were doing BIM, but I was just playing and songs. I was at a miserable gig, and the drummer started,
and you were just
as I went to play, I just went, I never want to do this ever again. And I stopped playing for 2 years.
You must have seen the movie High Fidelity with John Cusack as well. I think Jack Black plays that at the start, and John Cusack's like, that's going off, and he throws the tape out the window.
But yeah, so we all have those moments, but I think it's very difficult to literally stop. I think, like you said, finding new challenges, finding new people, not making it about just one end goal of success versus failure, and making it more about the love of music, making things, creating smaller achievements, bigger achievements, and making it more of life choices.
Yeah, man. We all, as I say, music has that ability to change how you feel. So we always associate music with our favourite bands, but you don't always have that vibe when you're practicing, when you're on tour, when you're trying to make it as a musician day to day on a Tuesday morning, when you're like, I just don't feel it today, and I've got to now do some social media. Everybody feels like that, even in our position. Sure, Dave Grohl feels like often he's like, oh man, I've got to scream for 3 hours now. Like it's.
Well, he says himself, he gets to the end of a tour and he's like, I never want to see you.
I'm broken. Yeah, I am broken.
So-
But no, there's always something else to turn to, and I think just having that light and shade with what you do is really important.
Important. So, so we've got a bit more cool stuff to happen. We've got a quiz before we go, but. Checking out your stuff, obviously, you've got a real niche, which is, with the guitar teaching. And you reached out to me a year and a half ago when I was
Man.
it's pretty embryonic, and it was all, and you just said,
Can I just say how I found you as well?
Yeah.
Facebook ads.
What is
I
it?
found you on Facebook. So when all your audience is like, these Facebook ads don't work, there's a chance I wouldn't even be in Brighton
Really?
had I not come across you. Yeah.
Facebook ads, you see.
It's
But you reached out, and you just said, like, if I can help with anything, and I was like, you can help with everything, because I'm on a quest to learn all of this stuff, and like there was a few key bits of information that you have told me over the last couple of years that have really, really stuck in, including when we were together about a month ago, including this show. I wasn't doing this show. I got bored of this show, and I was like, it's the same questions all the time. And we were together, and you said, do you know how many times I've taught a C chord? And I was like, no. You were like, that's the thing.
Every day for about the last 10 years.
And I was like, you're right. Just because people...
It's a vehicle.
It's a vehicle.
It's a vehicle to show what you're doing. And this show and things like it is a really good vehicle to talk about this stuff.
And that relentlessness was one thing where you're like, you've got to get the show back. You've got to be relentless. You've got to be putting content out there, in a way where people are valuing it, etc. So different forms. Another thing you said was, what's interesting is people come to me and they go, it's not happening, and I'm going, patience. Everyone feels the same. And I was talking to you and I was like, I feel like I'm doing really well. Why is the channel not going? And you were like, mate, it's like been a year and a half.
Yeah,
like,
you're just early.
Down.
It's true. No, if you look at the growth of your channel on something like Social Blade, compare it to mine for the first it's pretty much identical.
It's amazing.
It's the same curve.
It's
just the more views you get and the more subscribers you get, these things go exponentially.
And then grow.
See, it's just snail-like at the start.
That was great advice for me, because...
And if you're doing the right thing, and that's why I had to get in touch, because I was like, I think your content's great. Where were you 10 years ago when I was at uni or when I left? I was like, this is ridiculous. I was like, I think there's a couple of things that I can do to help. Loads
as well. It's been, it's such a help. But now it is interesting because I'm seeing more of the growth and taking the advice you've given, and I've still got much more ideas. I keep coming to you every 5 minutes.
No, that's all. It's cool.
People can reach out to you.
Yeah, of course,
on YouTube.
Definitely.
So Andy Guitar. If it's on Instagram, it's Real Andy Guitar.
Real Andy Guitar.
So reach out, because when it comes to obviously teaching, that's one thing, but what's really important is Andy now hasn't just got how to teach beginner guitars. It's a wealth of marketing, advertising, social media, growth hacking,
and now an app.
Which you can get. How do you get the app? Just literally
Google Play. Andy Guitar app on Google Play, and it's free. Download it. It's free. It will be coming to iOS in a couple of weeks,
right?
Or 2037. Because this app, it did take a long time to make, but yeah, we should be there.
So people can reach out to you. They can ask you questions.
100%. Yeah, no,
I love that. It's brilliant. So, but before we go, Morgan M. James,
wicked.
Give us a quiz.
Yes. So
okay,
because Andy Guitar is our first ever special guest, we are going to have for every special guest, Andy being the first one ever, a special Damian Keys #AskDamoShow quiz.
A quiz.
It's the quiz. It's quiz night.
So what do you do?
We have got Team Damo. We've got Team Andy Guitar. And both of you boys have buzzers. Hopefully. Damian?
Yeah.
Make a buzzer noise. Wow. Yes. Andy?
Buzz.
Go on. Right. So, traditional. The way it's going to work is we have 5 questions.
I'm excited.
I'm going to write down the points. Going to see who wins.
All right.
Do it.
All right. Question 1. And don't forget to buzz.
Right.
Otherwise your vote doesn't count. Which US rapper did Ed Sheeran collaborate with in the last year?
The irony is I've probably done a tutorial for it.
I know Damian's done a video about it.
Eminem. Buzz. Eminem.
Andy's not going to Shit.
Well, yeah, do you know, the first thought popped in my head was Eminem, but I'm like, Ed Sheeran's collab with so many people.
Yeah.
I like, yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Can't remember, what was the tune?
River.
River.
I have been a thief, been a lover, been a cheat.
Right.
Question
2. I'm on this one.
Okay. Who performed at the 2018 Super Bowl halftime show?
Was it Lady Gaga? Buzz. Lady Gaga? Buzz?
Is it? I'm just trying to think of my years. I know it's been the Chili Peppers.
How was years ago?
Bruno Mars.
How was years ago?
God, boys, you can keep guessing if you want.
Can I?
Yeah?
Taylor Swift. Kanye.
No.
Who was it?
Okay, I'll tell you. It was Justin Timberlake.
Ah, yeah.
Remember?
Forgetful.
Yeah, right.
No, it wasn't.
Right. Question.
I'm just annoyed a lot of Justin Timberlake fans now. That's bad.
Question 3. Who sings "Walking on Sunshine"?
Buzz. Katrina and the friggin' Waves.
Woo!
And Jack Black.
Another point for
And you for years.
Question 4. It's currently 2-0 to Andy.
Yeah, I know.
Question 4. Who is Billy Ray Cyrus's daughter?
Miley Cyrus.
Whee!
Come on!
So
You know, that's
slow then.
Billy Ray
good.
Cyrus is my
So
nickname at
slow.
school, I think.
Right, we have a guess the song question.
Alright, yeah.
So I'm going to play a little bit. Alright, yeah. I'm going to play a little bit of a song. Whoever can buzz in and tell me the name of the song first
Just
wins.
walking on sunshine, I'm
Are you ready?
And Sam Metallica.
Oh,
I win!
oh,
Oh, it's a draw. No, it's a draw
The
so far. So we got a
the
tiebreaker.
score is 2 each,
Right,
which means we have one tiebreak question.
okay.
Because I prepared for this. Alright, it's going to be a one more guess the song intro.
Alright.
So whoever gets this wins.
Buzz. YMCA.
Yes!
Wow, I didn't get Enter Sam now, but I got YMCA. That is telling.
And
Yeah.
the winner.
You are the winner.
Woo!
Very good. Well done.
There you go.
Brilliant. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming.
No,
back.
thank you.
If you got any questions, then hit them up in the comments, like, subscribe, the usual stuff. Also, go and hit Andy up. Next week, same time, same place, questions, which comes through Instagram or Facebook. Otherwise, just come and be a part of this community because we're doing this every single day. Get involved, get in touch, and I will see you guys tomorrow.